It's not every day that you get to speak with an absolute legend. He is one of the greats of his sport. He's a 6-time Grand Slam winner, and he is right here in India speaking to us on NDTV. I am talking about Mr. Boris Becker. Wonderful to see you here.
Thank you very much for having me.
And thank you for being with us today, and we'd like to welcome you, of course, back to India. Give us a sense of what brings you here. I mean, this isn't, of course, your first visit to the country, so you are familiar with India in that sense.
India is close to my heart. I've been here many times. Recently, last November, not on a business trip, but for a very famous wedding. I've heard about, you've been to many Indian weddings. It takes 3 or 4 days.
Can take longer.
Even longer, even longer.
Yeah.
But now I'm here for business.
What's your exposure been then to the Indian tennis academies? Do you think there needs to be more done in terms of the training itself of the sport?
Well, some of the names I mentioned before are trying with in their own right to build up tennis academies, which is great. But just imagine, if you get an Indian top 10 player on the men's side, the possibilities are endless. This is a country where sport is very important. But to my knowledge, you don't have this center of excellence in tennis that you may need to have future success.
All right, so what do you think holds us back? Because if you look at the way the sport has been, on the doubles side we've had lots of successes, some great winning partnerships, not so much on the singles side.
It shouldn't be a problem, once you know how to play doubles, you know how to play singles, even though it's a bigger court then all of a sudden. I think it's a question of mentality, it's a question of approach. Singles success is obviously more difficult because it's based upon your own shoulders. Sure. You cannot share the weight, you cannot share the responsibility, but it's all about how you approach tennis as a whole. You see it as a professional sport. Is it important for Indian sports? Is it important for Indian society? I don't know how you've done at last year's London Olympics, but for the size you have here, I don't think too well. Yeah. So it really throws back the question, how important is sport for India, for the society as such? And once you answer that question, you'll have future tennis champions.
Well, I can tell you it was our best showing at the Olympics, but you're right, it still didn't sort of add up to too many medals. The point you make, though, about how important sports is within society, even if you go back to the school or the college level, university level, do you think it's important to also reward the students for sports? I mean, it's, in India we are pretty hard-pressed on academics, but not necessarily sports.
Well, I'm a big fan of academics, and you should have your proper school system, obviously. But the sport, especially for young people, is a great way of learning a lot about life in a very playful way. In sports, you learn about setting goals for yourself, about discipline, about working as a team, about fair play, about respect the other's performance, and it's something you don't necessarily only need in sports, but in all walks of life. Therefore, sport as a tool for social change is very, very important.
And a sense of healthy competition as well.
Absolutely.
Healthy being the crucial part of it.
Yes.
You have so many fans here in the country. I mean, everybody knows you. They've followed your career very closely. Let's go back to the very start. I mean, that's the part I think a lot of your fans would like to get your views on. When you turned pro, and then of course you pretty much stormed the scene at your first Wimbledon. Take us back to that time. What was it like?
Well, we're talking the 1800s, no? Or was it 25 years ago?
Yeah,
well, it was quite
not as long.
It was quite a surprise to me. I was a teenager. I was 17 years old, and I was already a tennis professional. I started young. I won the warm-up tournament in Queens just a few weeks before, and then they called me the dark horse because I wasn't seeded yet, but I knew how to play well on grass. One thing led to another. All of a sudden, I'm in the second week in Wimbledon. The buses going around the courts and all around the tennis world, and the next thing I knew, I was playing the Wimbledon final against a player called Kevin Curran.